Star Wars has always had great bonus content on their home releases. Just look at those prequel DVDs. Hours upon hours of fascinating, interesting stuff that if you're all interested to know how the sausage gets made, so to speak, really takes you inside the sausage factory to see how these films are actually put together. So when I heard that Star Wars The Last Jedi was going to have an hour-and-a-half long documentary about the making of the film, I was naturally very excited. My name is Tom. This is my review for the documentary The Director and The Jedi. Now, it's called The Director and The Jedi, and the marketing for this seemed to suggest that it was going to be about the journey between the director Rian Johnson and Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself. The documentary actually goes into more about the production overall and all the cast members and how everybody worked with the director Rian Johnson to create this film. But it does focus mainly on Mark Hamill and Rian Johnson and how the writing for Luke Skywalker in this film came to be, the ideas behind it, and how those two worked together to create the character that you saw on screen in this film. It was actually astonishing to me to learn in this documentary the things that were actually practical effects that I thought when watching the film were actually CGI. Things like dead Snoke, the Fathiers, and the alien titty monster Milky thing. Now in this documentary, with the loss of Carrie Fisher, there is going to be some nerd tear-jerking moments. Mark Hamill seeing Frank Oz again and working with Puppet Yoda, him getting all emotional about that was a very tear-inducing moment. Carrie Fisher talking about her experience making this film, that was a very tear-nerd-inducing moment. But nothing really made me cry nerd tears of joy and sadness more than watching the scene be rehearsed by Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher, their scene towards the end of The Last Jedi, watching them go through that. And to learn that there was actually a much more emotional version of that scene where Leia breaks down and starts crying, and Luke is a lot more emotional in that scene as well than what we got in the final film. While I was happy with the scene we got in the film, and that scene in the film made me cry a lot too, the scene that I saw them rehearse and the tape that they showed of that in the documentary, I gotta wonder why they didn't use it. It's such an amazing moment to watch those two together again on screen, and it just adds a lot more that we don't have Carrie Fisher anymore. And that scene just means so much more to me and so much more to, I'm sure, a lot of Star Wars fans now. I think one of the other things this documentary does really, really well is illustrate just how stressful filmmaking can be. When you see, things between Rian Johnson and the producers, and they're talking about budgets, and they're going through pretty much every detail of filmmaking, from setting up sets to working out what's going to be practical, what's going to be CGI, every dollar kind of counts sort of thing. Seeing that is just interesting and just fascinating to me. And also seeing Rian Johnson's giddy nerd joygasms that he has on set when things go right, and hearing, him talk about how much fun he's having. I just appreciate that, Rian Johnson said in an interview at one point that the reason they did this documentary was to show these sorts of things. And the cast and the crew all had mics on them at all times. They hired a proper documentary filmmaker and a film crew to come in and shoot this documentary and give them an all-access pass during the making of The Last Jedi. So while they're trying to make a film, you've got a separate film crew actually filming a documentary of the filming of the film. Did you understand what I was trying to say there? So guys, I really, really enjoyed this documentary. I love behind the scenes stuff. I love the making of documentaries, and for a while now, it's been a trend that the Blu-rays have, gotten less and less bonus features on them. Maybe a few deleted scenes, maybe a commentary track, but Star Wars has had a history of great bonus content, and this one just is right up there with the prequel DVD bonus content for me. The Force Awakens did have a lot of good bonus content, but it wasn't anything too amazing. This documentary I found just fascinating. Seeing Mark Hamill and Rian Johnson work together, listening to Mark Hamill talk about how he wasn't happy with the character of Luke Skywalker at first, and he wasn't happy with the direction that Rian Johnson had chosen, but then he got on board with it afterwards. It's just fascinating stuff, and I really, really enjoyed this documentary. It's very, very well made. Not only if you're a Star Wars fan will you learn more about how this film was made and how Star Wars films are made in general, but even if you're just a film fan and you're interested as to how film is put together and how movies are made, this is a very, very good documentary, and I would recommend checking this one out. You can get it with the digital purchase of Star Wars The Last Jedi or with the Blu-ray, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm one of these lunatics. I'm buying both the digital and the Blu-ray. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, leave a like, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think. Have you seen this documentary? If you have, I'm very interested to know your thoughts. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. My name is Tom. May the Force be with you always.